For data science and web development, we have Jessica Nicdao, who is a digital services analyst with 6 years experience in the data science field, who is also a master's in statistics candidate of the University of the Philippines. This workshop will also be facilitated by the three Google Apps Script facilitators previously mentioned.
So I'll just briefly uh, talk about my background. So I'm Jessica Nicdao. I'm a senior analyst in the digital services team in PwC AC Manila. I am a graduate of statistics in UP and I'm taking my master's as well in UP. Currently, I have 6 years of experience in the data science field. This experience is from different fields, so media, finance, insurance, and then customer service as well. So that's me. You can call me Jess, and my pronouns are she and her. So for today, my agenda is talk to you about what is data science, why is it so popular today, what are the interesting use cases of data science, what are data science projects in PwC, brief discussion about that, and what is the future of data science. Let me start with this slide. So this was much talked about when I was, I think, in second year college, because there was this article that was released 2012, published in the Harvard Business Review, saying the data scientist job is the sexiest job of the 21st century. So Thomas Davenport, which is a professor, and GJ Patel, which became the chief data scientist in the US in 2015 to 2017, I think. They were the ones who wrote the articles, and he said, data scientists are the people who can coax treasure out of messy and structured data. So that was very interesting. I was taking up statistics then, and data science wasn't really heard of, especially in the Philippines. So it was quite a buzz. I can share the link to this article with you if you want to read it later. You can just chat. So let's start with what is data science. Data science, there's no really a single definition of it yet. It's a fairly new field. But a long and more comprehensive definition is that, what you see on the screen. It says data science is an interdisciplinary field that uses scientific methods, processes, algorithms, and systems to extract knowledge and insights from noisy, structured, and unstructured data, and apply knowledge and actionable insights from data across a broad range of application domains. A short version of it is that data science is just about drawing useful conclusions from large and diverse data sets through exploration, prediction, and inference. Usually, data science is oftentimes explained with this Venn diagram that you see on the right side of the screen. So there are three main fields: computer science or IT, math and statistics, and then business knowledge. Sorry, I'll just fix it. Can't see. Right. So they say that the combination of computer science and domains or business knowledge is called the software development. It's not utilizing math and statistics. And then there's this combination of math and statistics, and then domain or business knowledge, that's our traditional research. And then there's a combination of computer science or IT and math and statistics, which is machine learning, which doesn't include domains or business knowledge. But if we combine all of these three together, then that is data science. So that means that data scientists should have, ideally, they should have knowledge in all of these three fields. Yeah. So I'll be entertaining your questions and like the end part of the session, but for now, let's just continue. Since we already know, like we have an idea of what data science is, what um like knowledge we need for this field, let me just talk about how does data science work, or what is the normal life cycle of a data science project. Normally, it looks like this. It has 7 steps. It's not a linear process, it's an iterative process, so it's a cycle. But we normally start with problem definition. So problem definition, this is where we translate the business objectives into analytical objectives which have actionable steps. So for example, let me take an insurance example for this. For example, an insurance industry has a business objective to retain, let's say, half of its previous customers. So that's the business objective. And you have to think about the analytical objective when you're starting a data science project. So, what do you need to do to attain the business objective? So, for this case, we can build a customer retention model. So a predictive model which predicts which of their customers are likely to not renew their like insurance or policy with them, so that we can focus on these customers and see what we can do to avoid them not renewing their policy. So that's the problem definition. Data collection is the next step, where since you already have an analytical objective, like building a predictive model, a retention model, then we need to collect the necessary data or the relevant data. This is where your business knowledge comes in. You should know what are the factors that might affect the customers to leave or to not renew their policy. So listing of hypothesis is in this step. And then we collect the data that we need. The next step is to do data cleaning and processing, or like data preparation in general. In the real world, this takes up like almost half of the time of the data science project, because in the real world, data is oftentimes messy. I mean, it can get really messy, and data needs to be cleaned in order to extract better insights. And as you may know, data can come in a structured form, or now there are a lot of unstructured forms as well, like scraping information from the web. So we need to clean that, or converting videos and transcribing it into text, and then we need to clean those. So this ones is like all a part of this data preparation or data cleaning or processing. This also includes missing data imputations and value transformations, everything that we need to have a cleaner data. And then the next step is called the exploratory data analysis. Once you have clean data, we do univariate and bivariate analysis. We do hypothesis testing in this part. So in the data collection, you've listed your hypothesis. These are the variables that I think will be the reasons why these customers will not like renew their policy, their insurance policy. So in this exploratory data analysis, you now have the data to test whether that's true or not, whether those variables make sense, or if you need more variables, so then you need to go back to data collection and list more variables that you think makes more sense. And then part of this is feature engineering too. Feature engineering is like where we create new variables that can generate more meaning. So that's exploratory data analysis. And then once you've understood your data, you've understood all the variables, you understood the relationship of each of the variables, you can go to the model building and evaluation. This is where you train, test, and validate your model. If we get the chance to have a workshop next time, I can have like a whole topic for model building and evaluation. But basically, in a predictive model, you have like a segment of your data where you train your model. This is where your model will learn. And then there's a segment of your data where you test what your model have learned. And then there's another segment of your data where you again validate how accurate your model is, how good your model is. So that's the model building and evaluation. Once you've built a good enough model which can predict, for example, like which customers are not going to renew, then you can then visualize and get insights from this model, which is very important for your business objective. So we build a model, it can predict, but still you need to explain what the model is doing and how it's predicting. So in here, for example, it has predicted that this customer will not renew. You can also extract information on why it's not renewing. So you can list, extract factors from the model, reasons why the model thinks this customer is not renewing. And then you can communicate this with your client or your client, and then it can cascade it to the agents or brokers, and tell them to go through the list and use this to build better relationships with their customers. So that's the communication part. And then we do model deployment and maintenance. That's the last step. So once you've communicated your model results and the business understood it and it answers their questions, or it um, is on track to achieve the business objectives, then we deploy the model and then we collect feedback. But as I've said, this is not a linear process, it's an iterative process. So for example, you built a model and it's not learning, it's not performing quite good, then we go back to data collection or data cleaning. Or even if you are already in the communication part, communication of your model, you can go back to problem definition again if the business said that's not answering the goal or the business objective. So it's a cycle. Yeah. So that's how like a data science project work normally. Okay. Now that we've learned a bit more on what data science is and how it works, let me just walk you like briefly through its history. Data science started in the 60s and slowly but gradually developed along with the development of technology. So in the 1960s to 70s, they were still contemplating about the power of data. So this time, not sure if you still remember, the only computers that were there was ENIAC and the mainframe computers, like the big ones in like a big room. And then there are few statistical packages, if you're familiar with SAS or SPSS. It was available before, but it was mostly available in universities, government, and very large corporations, as it was very expensive. In the 1980s, more research on the importance of data. Business started research for finding the importance of collecting vast data. So in the 1980s, the first personal computers were released by IBM and then Apple. So The statistical packages, SAS and SPSS that I've mentioned uh, before they were in like universities and government, but now it went out of the academe and into the people's homes or offices. So they were able to explore and use these statistical packages and analyze like a small amount of data. And then in the 1990s, data science gained a bit of attention. Business started to witness the importance of collecting, applying data for their profit. So now it's not just in the academe and for business and for the government. Businesses now have noticed how it could um, increase their profit, but they didn't know what and how to use it for their benefit still. So in the 1990s, data analysis was not exclusive to statisticians alone, so not just in the academe. Since all degrees require statistics courses by then, and they have like a personal computer available and a statistical package, then a lot has applied statistics in their own industries already. In the 2000s, data science started being practiced. 2000s was when the emails were introduced, ebooks, smartphones. So data science and big data seem to work ideally with the developing technology then. In the 2010s, um, it is a new era of data science. Companies had also begun to view data as a commodity upon which they could capitalize. So I think this was when there were social media already. There are a lot of data already, unstructured data even. And this was when the article of the sexiest job of the century was published. And then now in the 2020s, data science is very much in demand. Using AI techniques, the usage of data was further enhanced. Companies started collecting all kinds of data from all sorts of sources, which I will like talk about a bit more in the next slides. But this is a brief history of data science. So yeah, on to the question, why is data science so popular today? There are three main reasons. First is that because data is everywhere, information has become a commodity that is quickly and widely disseminated. It's everywhere. It's in our personal devices, laptops, smartphones, watches, sensors, car sensors. Everything has sensors now. Transactional data, when you go to the bank, all your transactions are listed and they can like come back to a whole history, your whole banking history and do an analysis on it. So data is everywhere. Second is that devices have become cheaper and more powerful. In the past decade, cost of storage decreased by 6 times, and then GPUs have become 100 times more capable. So basically, before we can't really do much because our machines, the power of our machines won't allow us to. But now our machines have become a lot more powerful and a lot cheaper. So a lot of people are able to utilize this and crunch a lot of data in a short time. And then the third one is there are a lot of open source software and hardware now already. So open source software is a software that is distributed with its source code, making it available for use, modification, and distribution with its original rights. So even Facebook, Google have their like open source technologies which we can access. It makes like the creation or enhancement of a technology easier because the whole community have access to the source code and can enhance it. So that's why there was like a rapid growth in data science because of this too. Yeah. So the next one I wanted to talk about is just like a few interesting use cases of data science. I feel like everyone feels this is like a normal um, feature of the application, but it was like quite interesting when I first like knew about them. But yeah, so let me just talk about the popular ones. So Netflix, of course, it's like a data science company, really. So it's popular with its personalized recommendation engines. So it's very good in recommending which shows you might like. So it can be because like other people similar to your profile likes this list of TV shows, then it's recommending this to you. Or maybe because you've rewatched a similar genre. For example, you like horror, so it will recommend a lot more horror movies to you. So it's very personalized. Netflix does it really well. There's content development analytics. So even in the development of their TV shows, they use analytics. So Orange is the New Black, Queen's Gambit, Stranger Things, Umbrella Academy. These are like TV shows with not so popular theme. Orange is the New Black is about like a woman inmate, I think. Queen's Gambit is about chess, which is not really popular. Stranger Things is about strange things that kids like experience, which are not like pop themes for movies, but Netflix funded or spent a lot of money with this because based on their content analytics, a lot of their viewers would like this. So even before releasing the show, they know this shows about chess, for example, Queen's Gambit will be a hit. So that's that. And then personalized artwork. I'm not sure if you've noticed that Netflix shows have personalized artworks. So, for example, it knows that, for example, there's a horror movie with your favorite actress. For some people who likes horror movies, the artwork the artwork will look like a dark themed horror feels kind of artwork. But for other people who likes the actress, in their artwork of the same movie, they will see a picture of the actress that they like. So it's very targeted. And then even for their operations when shooting the films, they use analytics. So they already predict the cost of changing their locations. They already analyzed how to increase the efficiency of their filming and post-production activities. So all of this utilizes analytics and data science. So that's Netflix. Spotify, again, personalized content. You have Discover Weeklies, you have, um, what are those? Daily mixes. So it analyzes similarities of the songs you listen to, not just like because your peers like the same songs, but it goes deeper and analyzes the beat and the tempo of the music you're listening to. So it can recommend a similar music to you. It also analyzes which tracks you skip. So all of this. And then Facebook. Facebook is well known for its text analytics, mainly for ad targeting. Like sometimes you feel like Facebook is listening to you, but I think it's analyzing all your posts and your friends' posts and then targeting ads to you. I hope they're not analyzing our like messenger content, but yeah, they're really good at their text analysis as well as their image analysis. For example, you post a picture and then it asks you to tag. It already recommends who the person is in the photo, so it can recognize who that person is. So that's data science. It also they also have an like a technology to pinpoint which opportunities, uh, where are the opportunities for efficiency. So like an algorithm will tell them where they can improve on. So they also have that. And then Airbnb, it matches the traveler with the host and location depending on what you might like. Uber or Grab, it uses data science by setting its price. So its price is based on the number of available drivers and the number of riders. I mean, it's more complicated than that, but that's how they are able to gain profit by utilizing a price model. And then Amazon. Amazon, I'm not sure if Shopee or Lazada as well, they uses data science, of course, to recommend their products based on your history. Amazon also sets lower prices and bigger discounts to items that they know are more popular. It also is doing a prediction of who will order and when as well, so that they can already bulk up their inventories on a certain area, on a certain product, so that they can ship it faster because they know that a lot of people in a certain location will buy a certain product. So that's how they're using data science. Supermarkets, um, we there's like an analysis we call market basket analysis. So it analyzes the items in your receipts that you buy at the same time. So maybe you've noticed that sometimes diapers, there's an aisle for the diapers for the baby items, right? But and like beside it there is like a shelf of beer. So like the analysts realize that a lot of dads who buys baby products oftentimes buy beer as well, so they put it together already. So these ones are like based on market basket analysis or other analysis that they do in supermarkets. What else? Globe, they do customer segmentation and identify which promos to offer to you. So not all the promos are sent to everyone. They analyze what kind of customer you are and then give you like a targeted promo. So that's like a few examples on how industries do it. So these examples are mostly on social media giants, but data science or analytics is applied in almost all fields. So finance, there's credit card fraud as an example. There's customer analysis in healthcare. They do medical image analysis, job development, and so on. In marketing, of course, it's very much used for targeting, for targeted advertising. And then insurance, as I've used as an example earlier, they use it to predict which ones are leaving or not renewing their insurance, or for the prediction of their claims. So I can give you more examples, but for now, here are the most interesting use cases. So yeah, um, just a quick uh, sharing on what we do for example, as a data science project in PwC. So PwC is an audit and consulting company. So we have this one project, it's called predictive heat maps. So basically, in here, we want to predict the areas of which there will be new mergers and acquisitions of companies, because that's what we wanted to learn. So we wanted to predict that. We have other projects as well. There's one that we call Bionic Insights Engine. So in here, we're creating an engine which has a lot of analytics features. We do natural language processing, like extraction of keywords and all of this. We also have predictions. We're predicting which ones are the potential targets for a company to invest, or which ones are the potential investors that can invest on a specific company. So these are two of our data science projects in PwC. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about the future of data science. Where is data science headed? Because like there are talks that since a lot of the things are getting automated already, maybe there's no need for data science anymore. But I'm quite sure there will still be like more improvements in data science, because like for some of these reasons. Number one is there's still increasing amounts of data. If you're familiar with Internet of Things, so all of your devices are connected to the internet now, which we can collect the data on and then do an analysis on, or an automation on. And social media is still getting bigger. Second is that there's still more improvements in machine learning algorithms. If you have heard about the AlphaGo, where they built a model to be the best checkers player in the world. So there's that. There are a lot of advancements in machine and deep learning algorithms. And then there are new technologies called machine vision. One example is for handwriting analysis. This is very helpful for the healthcare industry. And then CCTV surveillance, where no one needs to like constantly monitor the CCTV. It will automatically, there's a model which automatically alerts you if something's happening. So this ones. And then the third one is that there are still improvements in our computing resources. So from CPUs, we're turning to TPUs. So instead of hardware, the processing power is now going to the cloud and more available to a lot of people. There is an increase in the use of virtual computing environments. And then the endpoint devices are getting smaller. So there's still a lot more that will happen in the field of data science. Now, are there any questions? Quickly, like maybe for 5 minutes if you have. Hello po. If you don't have any questions, then I will just like plug our social media accounts. Please follow PwC in Facebook and LinkedIn. So these are the links. I can share it with you also later in the chat. And yeah, that's the end of our data science session. Very quick introduction. If we don't have any questions, yeah, so we have questions. Hello, how can we get started in learning data science po? Um, there are a lot of online resources out there. I think there are a lot of free ones. Um, you can start joining those or uh, taking those online sessions. Or if you're still, I'm sure you're still in school, data science is closely related with statistics. So most of the data science models are built from statistical theories or background. So um, that can be a start, like focusing on your stat subjects. What courses can you take? Stat, definitely, I will say. But if you're more on automation, machine learning, then computer science is a good start as well. Um, does data science also encompass physical science fields such as chemistry and physics? Yes. Um, everything that has data, you can use data science. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Reina Reyes. She's an astrophysicist, which is who is also a good data scientist. So she uses data science for her work in astrophysics. Hi, ma'am. What are the tools or language you usually use po? Tools and languages used in data science. Currently, the most popular one is Python because it connects easily with other software, computer, like development softwares, software development softwares. It connects really well with that. But other languages are R. It's more statistics side or research side. There's R too. So mostly R and Python. Next question. Hello po. Is data science included in your BSTET curriculum? In my time, so I'm still young. In my time, I started 2010 in college. We didn't have data science yet. So data science is not that popular before. So we had like pure stat subjects, like more on surveys, research, all of this. But again, stat has all the predictive models. So these are the basis of the data science predictive models too. But now, at least in UP, because I'm familiar with their curriculum, I know they've included data science in their curriculums already. So they have adopted, um, I think they now have 3 subjects that are data science specific and automation, I think. What careers po are associated with data science? So careers mostly, of course, in analytics. So data science is can be applied everywhere. Usually all of the companies have their analytics teams. So you'll be working there if you wanted to be a data scientist. So career is becoming an analyst, data analyst, or a data scientist. Like data analysts, data scientists, data engineers, they are still different, but they're related. You can check Project Sparta, which is a government-funded data science program. I'm currently taking a class there. Right. So I'm also a scholar in Project Sparta. I didn't mention it because I can't remember if you need to be like a college graduate to apply. But I'm not sure if you can take it if you're still a student. But that's a pretty good way to start. This is DOST funded, and you'll get certificates from it. It has a lot of tracks if you wanted to be a data engineer, a data scientist, if you want to focus on project management, it's all there. It's I think the curriculum is built by the development analytics, I can't remember, of the Philippines. But yeah, I think it's ending in 2023, their pilot program. So if you wanted to take this course, take it now. They have a lot of free sessions there. It's easy to get a scholarship as well. What do you think is a good recommendation algorithm po? There are a lot of recommendation algorithms and it depends on your use case. Will it be hard to learn the course of data science if you're an average student without any knowledge about it? I mean, like all of the beginning of learning new things, right, is a bit difficult, but it's not different from learning other things as well. So it's
Yep,
not
just
for, yep.
Yep, just wanted to add some information with regards to some questions earlier, right? There was a question about the tools that you are using for data science. So you mentioned R and Python, right? But also
Mm,
on the other hand, on the other end of it, wherein you display the results, you're also
ah,
using Power BI, Tableau, and other dashboarding tools, right? Yeah, so
yeah.
those things you can also learn if you want to know more about how you present basically what you've analyzed for data science. Then there was also a question about career, right? So what roles do you have for data scientists? Basically, speaking for from my experience, right? When you go into the when you start working, there's really no data scientist title, right? So basically, you can apply what you learned, but you will encounter a lot of different titles for data scientists, right? So for example, in PwC, we have we call them BI developers, right? Business intelligence developers. We call them data analysts, right? But all of them are doing data science as their practice. So data science, when you learn about them, you can apply them to different industries. Yeah, and yeah, you will encounter a lot of different roles. But the core of what you're doing is basically analyzing data. Yeah. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah. So that's that. And Mia Christine mentioned that Sparta is ending actually this year. I just received an email, I think the other day, saying that I should complete all my courses because it's ending. So if you guys are really interested in learning about data science, I think that's a good start because in their curriculums, they have evaluations as well. So you peer review your work with other like Sparta scholars. So it's not like any other online courses where you just mostly watch videos and read stuff. It's a good place to start. So if you don't have any questions, I hope this session was useful. I'm not sure how you reach out to me, but if you're interested in the field of data science or know someone who is interested in the field of data science or data analytics, you have a family member or a friend, know that PwC is open. And we have a lot of interesting projects, as I've mentioned earlier. So I would recommend you guys to reach out to us and follow our social media accounts for all updates with PwC.
Welcome to the web dev part of this talk. I will be discussing front-end web development using HTML and CSS. Okay, so I have my agenda over here. So our activities will comprise of HTML, an overview of what it is and what an HTML document looks like, and CSS, which also comprises of an overview and what it looks like. And then the majority of this workshop will be live coding, meaning I will be coding and you guys can join along so that we will be learning by practice. All right, so starting with the overview, web development in a nutshell comprises of these two parts. So we have the front end, which is the part that renders the web page. So this is the one that we interact with, which we see in the browser. And the front end gets its data from the back end. So most of the information that the website displays, it retrieves from the back end. Next, for the back end, this is the one that retrieves the data from the database. So it acts like a bridge between the front end and the database. And then finally, the database. This is the storage of the data needed by the website. Okay, so for this session, since we have limited time, we will be focusing on front-end development, specifically HTML and CSS. For the HTML overview, we will start with what is HTML. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is the language used to create the structure of a web page. So think of building a house, for example. So the blueprints to create our house, that is what our HTML is. So how does HTML work? When you load a web page, the following is basically what happens. So first, an HTML document defining the web page is sent to the browser. And then once the browser receives that document, it creates the web page based on what it reads in the HTML document. And then finally, the browser will display the web page. So pretty simple, but this is a high-level overview of how a web page is loading. Now, an HTML document, it ends with a .html extension. So for example, if you have an HTML document saved in your file explorer, this is what it will look like. So I have here basic.html, and its default type is an HTML document. Next, an HTML document, it contains tags, and each one or each pair of tags represents an element on the web page. So I have a sample web page here, very bare bones, and it has three elements, this one and the line over here, and then this table below. So for this one, this 2022 April week 3, this is a header element, and this is created with the tags h1. Then the line, it's created with hr, and then this one below, it's created with the table tags. Sorry for that. Okay, moving on to the HTML document. So what does an HTML document look like? The earlier sample I showed, the basic.html, if you open it, then this is what it will look like. So it contains a series of tags. And this particular file is the file that I use to render this basic web page. Now, for this workshop, you can follow along using codepen.io.pen. So if you visit this web page, let me show you that. So codepen.io.pen. If you visit that page, it will take you to this view. So this view is where you can create your own HTML online. You will put your HTML code here. This one is for later. And when you edit your HTML, it will automatically show the web page you created here. So for example, I create h1, hello world, and then it will automatically update to display the changes. All right, going back to our slides. Okay, this is just what I showed you. Next one is the CSS overview. Now, what is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It is the language used to style and lay out a website. So earlier I said that the HTML document is kind of like a blueprint when you're building a house. So once you have that house, which is the web page, for example, once you have that house, the CSS is the decorations or the styles that you apply to the house. So you have a bare bones website, and then you apply CSS so that it is aesthetically pleasing or to give it more design or decoration. So how does CSS fit into the equation? It's basically the same process that I discussed earlier, but we are going to insert a step before the browser displays the web page. So first, same, the HTML document will be sent to the browser. Then the browser creates the web page based on that document. Then before displaying the web page, the browser will apply the CSS to the web page. And finally, after that, that's the time it displays the web page. Okay. Now for CSS style sheets, it ends with this .css extension. So this is what it will look like in File Explorer. And it contains rules, and each rule targets a specific element. Earlier in the HTML overview, I mentioned that HTML is comprised of tags that make elements on the web page. So now for the CSS, it targets the elements that you created on the HTML web page, and then it will apply styles on them. Now for this one, I have an example here. Each curly brace is one rule. So for example, this one, it's one curly brace block of code. So that's one rule. Now this one is another rule, the body. And the table finally is another rule. So for this example, I have 3 rules. Okay, moving on to style sheets. As I mentioned, or as I showed earlier, this is just a more detailed view of what I showed earlier. So more rules. And as for the syntax of a rule, we have the following. So I have an example here. This is a rule for the body. So this part, this body, this is what we call a selector. The selector specifies the target or targets of the rule. So, and also we can have multiple selectors. For example, we want to create a rule for the body that also applies to a table. So if we want to do that, we can say body, comma, table, and the rest will remain the same. The next one, we have the declarations. These are property value pairs separated by a colon. And each declaration is separated by a semicolon. For example, for this one, this tells you that in the body, the content will be displayed in a table, in a table layout. And then the margins, you will set it to auto, meaning you will let the browser compute the margins. And for text align, you're basically telling the CSS file the contents of the body will be aligned to the center of the web page. So are there any questions so far before I move on to the other topic? Okay, I'm assuming everyone's still following so far. I hope you guys are following. Okay, next one is the box model. Okay, so the browser represents each element as a rectangular box, which is known as the box model. So CSS determines the size, position, and properties of these boxes. For the example, the one that I showed earlier, this one. So we have hello world, and it shows up here in the HTML as hello world. So this one is encompassed in a box model. You can't see it, but it has the box model. And these are the meanings of what is comprised in the box model. So the content, this is what the element is showing. The padding, it is the space between the content and the border. The border is what goes around the padding and the content, and the margin is the space around the border. The margin is for creating space around different elements. So for this one, I think it would be better if I show you how it works. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, this is, I think, tell me if it's too small so I can make it bigger. So I have an H1 here, and let me pull out the CSS view. So my H1, let me first go to the body. So I want to see the changes to the H1. So I'll apply some background color, I guess, to the body. And for H1, first of all, let's add a border so we can see the changes between the margins and the padding. For the border, first, the border property accepts three values. The first value is the width of the border. Usually, this is denoted by px, which is pixels. So maybe I'll do 3 pixels wide border. The next one is the type of border. So I just want a solid border. And the last one is a color. So just a black color is fine. Now, when we display it, we can see that I have the border here in Hello World. Okay, and if I want to make it thicker, then I'll just do that. Okay, so for padding, let's do padding. We can do 16 px, for example. So this is 16 pixels. What this does is it adds padding to the top, right, bottom, and left side of the content, which is this one. I can also specify only the top and the sides. For example, I want a top and bottom margin of 16 px, but I don't want any margin on the left and right. So I'll do this. And you see that it doesn't have a margin here, and it also doesn't have a margin on the right side. Let me show you so that you can see that. Okay. So yeah, this one, padding three values, then this first value applies to the top and bottom, and this one applies to the left and right. Now, if you want, you can also give it 4 values. So for example, 600, then 10, then 0, then 0. What happens here is you give it a top margin of 100. Then this one is the right margin. So you give it a 10 px margin, and then no margin at the bottom and no margin at the left side. So the order that the values go is clockwise, starting from the top, right, bottom, and left. Okay. Reset this to 16 pixels. Now for the margin, it's the same as the padding. You can give it 1 value, you can give it 2 values, you can give it 3 or 4 values. So if I give it only 1 value, for example, 100 px, then we see that it gets 100 pixels of margin from the top, the left, and the right, and the bottom. Yeah, right. So that's it for the box model. Are there any questions for this one? Let me check the chat. Okay. So none so far. Okay, thanks, Lisa. So if none so far, let's go back to the presentation. Okay. So now we're going to go to the live coding part, which is where I'm going to show you how to create a website from HTML, CSS from scratch. So as a preview, I guess, or spoilers, this is the website that we will be creating. So This part, if we have time, we will be creating this part, but we will be focusing on these guys. So this one. So for the ones who want to code along, you can open your code pen now, and we will begin. So first of all, let's share to you the data that you don't have to or type it.
Gale?
Yes. Hello.
Yep, there's a little bit of a static sound in your audio.
Hello. Let me Hello. Is this any better or is it the same?
Well, yep, at least for me, it's better.
Okay.
And we also have a quick question here, Gale.
Yes, I can see the question. Can the hello world be centered inside the box? Well, yes, you can center it using CSS. So maybe we can do, for example, this. Div is a container, which you can use to contain multiple elements. So I have hello world. And for div, which one? So you don't see the red because the H1 takes up the entire div. So if you want to align it, it's usually just text align center inside the div. Yeah, so you can now see that it's centered here. As for vertical centering, like putting it in this, in here, so that's kind of a more complex one, but let me just try it out. So it centers here, and then for centering here, there is another piece of code that does that. But for this part, for CSS at least, there are a lot of properties that you need to learn about to do what you need to do. And your friend will be Stack Overflow and Google. Yeah, there we go. So that has been very interesting. But yeah, that's how you can center it inside the box. So you have to apply some height to the box, because if you don't apply it, then it will not know how to center it. And then you can use a display flex, this one. This justify content center, it's used to center it here. You can center it vertically, but for horizontal centering, this is for horizontal centering. So centering along the x-axis. And then for centering along the y-axis, you use flex direction. And then you align it to the center. Yep. But you can use there are a lot of other combinations of properties that you can use to center the content. It will just come to you when you've done a lot of CSS. So I hope that answers the question from Marisa. What about buttons redirecting to other page? Okay, we'll get to that later when we go to the live coding part. Okay, so remind me if it doesn't happen. Okay, so let's move on to the live coding part. I'll just delete everything that I've done, and let's do this page. So when you're creating a web page, first you have to structure it before you, what do you call that? Before you create the styles. So let me go to the one. I have a local copy. Okay. So first we will do this one. It's very bare bones. We will have to structure the web page first before we style it. So let's do this one first. The save a pet. Have I sent? Okay, I will send this one to you guys. This is important for the website. Okay, you can access, it contains the links to the pictures that I'm using and also the text that we will be using. Okay, so let's do this part. Save a pet, don't shop. Okay, I'll copy it so that we know what we're doing. First of all, let's put it inside a div. And this one is, I want it to be an H1. So for H1, remember that you should only have one H1 in a page. It serves as the main header of the page. So only one H1 per page. And I'm sorry, I didn't explain what H1 is. H1 is for creating headers. So there is H2 up until H6 with varying sizes. So H1 is used for the main header of the page. Okay, let's do that. And for a dot don't shop, maybe H2, since it's smaller. Or scroll down. I'll put it in a P. A P tag, this denotes a paragraph. So you can put text in there if you want to create a paragraph. And then I'll put this in as well. And then these ones are page hyperlinks. So they're hyperlinks redirecting to other parts of the page, not other pages. We'll get to the other pages later. Okay, now we have this. And I will put these guys in another div, in another container, because they serve as a different function. Now, these are sections of our HTML file, these ones. So we can create, before we create the links to these sections, let's first create the sections themselves. Okay, so this one is our vision. I'll capitalize it. Vision. Then let's just copy this. Mission. Then step. Delete RT. No, let's not do that for now. Let us go directly to rescue. Derecho of the month and reviews. Okay, so now we have the sections, or at least the labels for the sections. Let's create the links to the sections. To create links, we need to use the anchor tag, which is A. So we have here the A tag. We will put the text for the link inside the pair. So here, so for example, our vision. And then the href, this is a tag attribute. So some tags have attributes. For the anchor tag, it has the href attribute. The href attribute is where you put the link where you want to go when you click this link. For example, we have vision, so vision, and we will use the pound sign or hashtag. Now this one is the name of the section that we want to go to. So we go to our div here below, and we use the attribute ID and name it as vision. What happens is the href, when you click this, it will look for the vision ID if it exists anywhere in the document. And when it sees this, oh, this is the vision ID, then it will go to this section. And then let's do that for all the others. So this one is mission, our mission. This one is rescue of the month. So you can put anything in here. You just have to make sure that it is corresponding to the ID that you put in the sections. So for the rescue of the month, let's just put rescue. And for videos. Okay. So it should, yep, it should do this, but right now it doesn't really work because we don't have the links to the others. So let's just add that. Mission, then this one is rescue. Then this one is video. Okay. Let's add some content here so that we can make the page longer. Let me go to this. I'll add this. Okay. So it should make the page longer. Yes. And if we click this, once we click that, you see that we are going to the corresponding sections below. It's not yet going to the specific, well, it's going to the specific sections, but it's not clear yet because we don't have text here. But later, when we populate the sections, we can see that it's going to the actual sections. Okay. So let me just erase all the text that I put. Okay. So it's clean again. All right, so we have done this part now. And we also have the headers for the following sections. Let's go to this part first. So let me copy that. You can also copy it from here. It's this one, the vision part. Let me know if I'm going too fast and you guys want to have some time to digest the information. Okay, so for vision, I want to put the header. I want to put this our vision into its own div just because, and I also want to put a link that will take us back to the top. So I'll put another anchor tag and the href. This time, if you want to go back to the top of the page, you put the pound sign or hashtag. So we put the pound sign and let's just say back to the top. And as for the contents, I'll just put a paragraph tag here, copy the paragraph. There we go. Now it should work in that way. Okay. So it's not working because it's not showing you that it's working properly because we're at the top of the page. But that's it for our vision. Oh, first, for our vision, let's put it in a H2 because it's a subheading in the page. So our vision. Okay. So we're done with the our vision part. It's pretty basic. We just added a paragraph and a header. So let's go to the mission part. Okay. So for the mission part, let's do the same thing we did in vision. We put the header inside a div. And we also added an anchor tag that will take us back to the top. And then as for the paragraph, let's go here. This one that I shared with you. And then copy the first paragraph. And then as you can see in the sample here, I added the table in between the paragraphs. Let's first add the second paragraph, then we will add the table in between. So get the second paragraph, and then we paste it here. Okay, so now we have a pretty long website. And if we click this, we are now going back to the top. And if we click our mission, it will go to our mission. Okay, working fine. Now we go to the, okay, I have some chats. Oh, so for the information, I sent the link. I will send it again. Let me know if you guys can access it. What is the div for? The div is used to contain other contents. It's mostly used to section parts of the web page. So you can see here that these, for example, this part, I put it in one div because I want to section it as this section. And then for this part, I also put it in a separate div because I want to separate it from the header section from this one. And also another important thing about the div is once we go to the CSS part, we will need to select certain elements. And if everything is inside one div, then you will have a hard time selecting the elements. So it's important that you separate the components of a web page that work together and that have the same styles or have the same functions. And also it's a key idea in programming that you separate components or parts that are working together. Okay. Hi, po, is it okay? Okay, I'll slow down a bit. Okay. Are you all still following? Is it fine so far? Or do you want me to clarify something that I've done? So far what we've done is okay, clear. So far what we've done is we created this banner section and we created this part, which is the navigation of our page. So these are links that we want to click and go to the specific sections of the page. This one is the vision section. This one is the mission section. And the others, we haven't gotten to it, but it's the other sections of the page. Okay. I'll try to slow down, but I'll continue. So where were we? Does the ID always need the pound sign? Yes, you need to have the pound sign because if you don't put it in, for example, here, I removed it, it's not going to find, or rather, let me remove the video one because that's more obvious. Okay, so for example, that one, it's not going to find it. It's going to result in an error. So it should have the pound or hashtag sign. And also take note that this is case sensitive, meaning that if you put a capital V for video and you press it, it's not going to work. See, it's not going down. But if you put the V here, then you will go to the page. Yeah, down there to the section. So yeah, remember to put the pound or hashtag sign and to be conscious of the case of the ID name. Okay. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Moving on, so let's go back to our mission. Let's create a table with this one. Let me just make it bigger so you guys can see it. So this is some made up statistic about pets that I just put in there so we can create a table. So I will create a table. Let me just put the CSS part because we're not yet in the CSS app. So table, create a table. First, we have to do this table container. And then for the header of the table, we use thead, the thead tag. Once we have the thead tag, we will put the tr. Now the tr stands for table row. So you're creating one row of the table. And then we put the th, which is the table header cell. So there's a lot of tags involved in creating a table. This is finally the cell of a table. So you, for example, the one that we had earlier is made up statistics about this. Okay. And then I want to create another row that is the actual headers of the table. So we have at type, and then we can just copy that and add cuteness and adoption rate. Okay. Now you see here that this row has 3 cells and this one has 1 cell only. If once it's displayed, it's kind of messed up, as you can see here. So we would like to, for this one, to occupy 3 cells. For that, we will use the attribute call span. So call span, it says, this one tells you that, hey, this cell needs to occupy 3 cells. So that this row has 3 cells and this one has 3 cells, so that it matches. So we see here it's not so messed up anymore. It's, well, it's kind of basic, but it's better than before. Okay, so that's it for the header of the table. Let's move on to creating the content of the table. For that, we will use tBody, and this tBody is at the same level of thead. So you can see here, they're same level. And also, since our file is getting a bit large, you can click this one to make it, to collapse it so that we don't, you're not seeing too much information. Okay, so I'll just collapse the other parts in the meantime so that we're not confused. Okay, so for the tBody, we are also going to create rows in here. So tr, and for the body, instead of th to create the cell, we will use td. The difference is that th has some styles, some default styles to it, and td is just the basic style. So I'll show you. Let's say dogs. Okay, when we see here, so these are the th cells. You can see they're in bold type font. The td one, it's just a normal font. Okay, so let's add the others. So let's say dogs have 100% cuteness, but the adoption rate is only 80%. So sad. Oh no. And then for this one, we can just copy this row to create more rows. So let's copy it 4 times. And for this one, we replace it with cats. We say maybe lower adoption rate. Then for this one, birds. And a lower, no, they're still cute. So a lower adoption rate. And then as for the others, lizards, fish, others. And let's say the adoption rate is 30%. So when we view this now, we will see we have a table. Very basic table, but it's still a table. And the cells will take the width of the longest text. So you can see here the dogs, cats, birds, cells have a lot of space because the lizards, fish, and others is the longest one, and that's the width that the cell or the column is taking. Okay, you can see that. Okay. Hold on. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm apparently sending it to just one member, so I'm sorry for that. So I sent it to everyone. I hope everyone gets it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I am not used to Zoom. Okay, what is call span again to align them? Call span is used to extend the cell. So earlier this th, we didn't have the call span. So this means that it's only taking up one cell. As you can see here, it's only aligned to this first cell because it's only taking up the cell, the space of one cell. if we re-add the call span, it will take up all 3 cells. As you can see here, it's aligned to all 3 of the cells. And also TH, in addition to adding a bold text, it's also adding a center align. So that's you might be confused why it's center aligned. That's because the TH adds the center alignment. But the purpose of the call span is not alignment. It's to occupy 3 spaces of cells. I hope that answers the question for call span. And I hope everyone's accessing the information so that you can follow along. Okay, so now we're finished with the mission part. Let's go to the rescue of the month part. So this is, let's skip the theme. This is this one. So I have a picture of a dog here, and let's add this header as well. Okay, let's collapse this mission part. It's very long. Let's go to vision, and let's copy this header one and put it here. Then we change our vision to this one, rescue of the month. Okay, and then what else? Oh, Jackson. Let's also get this one. Before we move on to the image. So Jackson, I'll add another div for that, for the content. So adding of divs, that depends on how you want to structure your web page. So for my case, I want to add a div for the information for this one. Okay. Oh, denied access. Well, I can paste it in the chat, I guess. It's all just links and text. So I'll paste it for everyone here. Okay, apparently it's too long. Copy paste the code for the end of the session. I'm not sure, but I can talk to the hosts and ask them if I can share, if I can give them the code and share it to the participants later, so that you guys can study it, I guess, after the session. So let me just, I'll give you the text. Voila. Oh, okay. So Nisa has it. Thank you. So she has shared the PDF of the materials. I hope that helps. Okay, where were we? So, I was copying this one. So Jackson. Yes, thank you, Nisa. So Jackson is, let's say it's an H3. We already have H2, so let's say H3. Jackson. Let's say this one is, yeah, this is a paragraph. Let's put this, the age and the sex of the dog. So 5 years old, it's a male dog, and it likes to cuddle with everyone. Okay. So now we see it's there, the information. We have Jackson, 5 years old. Now we want to add an image. So for that, let's do this. It's an image tag. It doesn't have a pair like this. It's just one single tag. And we don't actually need this one. We only need the source. So in the file that Nisa sent, there is one there. This one, the dog. This is the link to the dog picture. It's very long, but just put it there. So let's copy that. And we will put it to this one. Okay, so now we will see it's the dog. It's there. So this one is what it basically, this tag is basically doing is it's taking the picture that is in this link and it's going to display it to the web page. Okay, so now we have the dog. It's very long. Yeah, anyway, so we have Jackson, 5 years old, likes to cuddle with everyone. And then for the likes and dislikes, this one is a list item. So let's create those lists. So let's create another div for that. And this is for likes, so likes. And to create a list, we will use, if we want a bullet type list, it's UL, which stands for unordered list. And then to add an item inside the list, it is LI, which is list item, of course. So for example, the dog likes carrots. Let me copy that. And it also likes belly rubs. And what else? What did I put in? Chewy toys. Okay, and now that we have that there, you can see it's created the bullet list. Okay, and if we want to create, let's add a new one for the dislikes. A new div. And we say dislikes. Then we will create, for this time, we will create a ordered list. The ordered list is the list with the numbering. So it has the same syntax as the UL. It has LI, and we put the text in between the LI. Chocolates. LI and dates. Okay. Now when we go back to our web page, we will see that we have this list, which is the unordered list, and this one is the ordered list. Yes, the picture takes a link. So the one, I added the link to the materials that I sent. So the source is a link to the source takes a link on the internet for the image. You can also, if the HTML is if you're running it locally, not online, for example, the source, you can also use it to display a picture it's in your computer, on your computer. But since we're using an online editor, then we're using online pictures. I hope that answered the question. If you're going to use your own picture, then you're going to have to upload it somewhere that's going to host the picture on the internet and then get the link of that picture and then put it here. So for example, let's say I'm going to Google to just get a random picture, maybe. So yeah, this is where I got the picture actually. So let me just show you. I took this picture, open image in new tab, and if you want to get it, just copy image address or just get this one. Okay, but just a note, don't actually do this if you're creating a commercial website. If you're creating a website for personal studies, then you're free to just Google any image you want. But if it's for commercial use, or if you're, for example, you have a client, let's say after this session, you had the inspiration to be a web dev and you have a client, you should not just search for pictures on internet because there might be some copyright for the other images. Okay. All right. So where are we now? We have that now. So we have the recipe of the month. Let's now add some videos. Okay. So where is that? Here. let's copy the headers for this one. Okay, copy that, and then we paste it here. Videos. Okay, so for videos, it's basically just iframe. Also a tip, I'm not sure if you guys have discovered it for CodePen, but if you type, for example, if you type A and then you press tab, it will autocomplete for you. So you don't have to type in everything. So iframe and then tab, it autocompletes. That is the wonders of a good editor. Okay, so for iframes, you can just, for example, go to YouTube. Again, this is for studying purposes. Don't actually just go to YouTube and search for videos and get it because there are copyright stuff. So let's say, for example, copy embed code. So when you copy the embed code, it automatically gives you the iframe code. And when you go back here, we can just delete this and copy what we got. The only things that you actually need here is the source and the width and the height. And the others are just fluff. Okay, now we can see below that we have the video. Okay, but let's use the one that I sent. So for this one, it's here. So I have the videos. No, there is no specific order. You can specify the height first or the width first, whichever is fine. And you can specify the source first, it's fine. Just remove the dash here. I added it because it won't display. It will display the video if I don't add it. Okay, so source, so sorry. For the question, so I'll add height here. Which is, I guess 500, let's say, and width of 200. Okay, so we have now this video. It's kind of big. Let's make it 130. It's not small now. Yeah, let's go back to this one. Anyway, so this to show you that well, the height and width you don't have to have a specific order. So let's do that, and it will still display the same. See here. Okay, so we added a video. Let's add another one. Don't like this one. So let's do 100, and this one as well. Okay, so now we have, okay, much better, I guess. Oh, okay. So now we have that. Let's add the other video, which is this one. Okay. And once let's load it, we have two pictures now. Videos, I mean. Okay, so if you want to get a video from another source, you can just replace this one. It's the same with image. It takes a URL. And again, if you want your own video, then you'll have to upload it somewhere and get the link to that. Okay, so we're basically done actually with the HTML part. Yay. Okay, let's proceed with the CSS part. So we have our web page now. We have this. And now what we want to do is to style it so that it looks pleasing. It doesn't look like just something we downloaded off somewhere sketchy. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to, for CSS, the first thing that I'm going to discuss is the class attribute. So I mentioned earlier that the selectors, you can select, for example, a div, but when we have multiple divs on the page, it's going to be difficult because that's going, for example, it's going to alter all the divs. So if we add a background color of pink, then everything will become pink. Yes. So I just want this part to be styled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a class. Let's say I'm going to call it a banner. You can call it whatever you want. For my case, I'm going to call it a banner. And then here, to select a class, you type a dot and whatever the name of the class is. So in my case, it's banner. And I want to add, for example, a background color of gray, just to see that it's styling it properly. So there, we're only selecting this one because I added the banner class. Okay. So let's go to, I haven't showed the final product again. Let's go to the final product that we're supposed to have. So this is what we want to have. And we're styling this part first. Okay. So now we want to add this image here, this one. I also included it here under banner. So just go ahead and get that. And then in our CSS, what we want to do now is add a background image. And to add the link, type URL, open and closing parentheses, and inside the parentheses, put the URL. So now we see we have the image. Yay. But it's kind of not good. So let's say, let's add a height, or rather, we won't add the height. Let's do this. Let's put all the information in another div. Okay, another shortcut. If you want to indent, for example, you can highlight it all and just click tab and it will indent all the lines you highlighted. Okay, and then I want to specify a height for my banner. So maybe I'll put in, or rather, let's not do that. Let's select this div in here. So since there's only one div, okay, change of plans. This navigation we have over here, let's put it inside the banner. So here, I'll put it after the information. And then here, what we do is we add a class like banner info. Okay. And then we want to select this one, banner info. What we do is we select the parent, which is banner, and then space, and then the banner info. What this does is it selects the banner info, which is inside banner. Okay, and what I want to do with banner info is add a background color. And I also sent this one to you guys. Let me see, this colors. So let's use the pink color here, pink. And let's do that, pink. I'm not sure if you're familiar with RGB, but RGB is just red, green, and blue. So it will compute a color based on the values of red, green, and blue that you put here. Okay. So we have now our banner info, it's there. So I want to align it to center. So let's say, let's align center so that it's centered. There we go. And let's say I want to put a margin on it. So I want it to be, for example, 400 pixels from the top. Then next one is no margin at the right. bottom margin. Let's say I want 16 pixels and 0. Okay. Okay, I don't want that. Okay, let's just add a 400 pixel height over here. Okay, so we can see that much clearer now. Also, for HTML and the body, let's remove all the margins. 0 and padding. 0. The HTML and body tags are not, you can't see it here because CodePen hides it, but there is an implied HTML and body tag here. So all of the code that we wrote here, they're inside the body tag, but CodePen is hiding it, so we don't have to put it. How do you change the color of the anchor text? Oh, we'll get to that later, but it's very easy. Just one property similar to background color. Okay. So right now, let's remove the margin for this one. I don't want a margin from the top. So here. Okay, I'm sorry. So for the headers, they're kind of annoying sometimes, the H1, H2, because they have their own margins. So what we're going to do, H1, H2, H3, and let's remove everything. Margin. Yep. Okay. So we don't have the margins anymore. Next one we want to do is we want to put this somewhere in the bottom, not at the top. Or, well, let's style the image first. So I have a background image. Let's put the height on top. I have this background image, so I don't want it. I want it to be centered. So we set background position to center. Okay, so it's centered now. And then what we want to do is stretch it. So background, we called it. Sometimes I forget what the property is. So let me just background size. And we want it to cover the entire div. And not stretch, because earlier it was stretching. Now we're just fitting it inside the div, so it looks better now. And then background. Don't have to do this, but let's just put it in. What this means is that don't repeat the background, just put it. Don't copy it if ever it's smaller than the container it's in. Okay. Now that we have that, let's put this one at the bottom. So the banner info, we go there and we assign a margin top. So in addition to margin, we also have margin top, margin right, bottom, and left. So if you don't want to specify all of the margins and just want to target one margin, then you can use this. So margin top, let's say, 300 pixels. So that is kind of at the bottom. Yes, this is not what I want. So let me just look at something. Let me just check something. Okay, so let me remove the height. And again, I'll put the margin top of 400 pixels. Doing weird stuff. So that again, 0, 0, 0, 0. Font styles. Yes, you can change the font style. So for example, so I don't want this type of font style. You can say font family, which is what the style is, and say, for example, sans serif. So okay, so now it's different. It's not the one that we had earlier. And if you want to know what the possible values of this one is, you can check MDN, Mozilla, or rather, just search it font family, CSS, and it should take you here. And you can see the following values that you can use. So for our workshop, I use sans serif, so it looks a bit simple. And then I'm having trouble with this one. Okay. Not sure what's happening, but let's try the color first. So for the text, we can change the color using the color property, like this one. So now it's white. And as for the question earlier for the anchor tags, let's say this one. Let's go back to our HTML, and I will put class navigation here. And then for navigation, I want to select the A inside navigation, so A, and then color white. Okay, so now it's white, not very pretty. So let's try to do something here. Let's remove the underline. So that's a text decoration property. Set it to none. And let's say I want a bold text, so font weight, which is bold. Okay, so now we have, it's a bit better. We want to add some background on it so we can see it. Background color, some pink. This one, pink. Okay, and let's add a padding so that doesn't look so small. So add a 16 padding, 16 px, and for the sides, let's add the 32 pixel padding. Now it's doing weird stuff, so let's do this. Okay, so now we have that. Yes. Okay, that's better. What we want to do next, let's select the navigation itself, the navigation div itself, and just align everything to the center. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm styling this one so that it looks like a button. Next one is, let's add a border radius so its borders are not too pointy. So 8 pixels should be fine. So okay, now it has rounded corners. Now I want to also, when I'm hovering it, I want to have the background color, for example, change. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the A and the state hover. So when I'm hovering over it, it should change color. So as for these kinds of states, there are a lot of them. There is active, for example, active or last child. So that selects the last child. So there are a lot of them. You can search for them on the Mozilla developer website for the list of all of them, or so just Google it and a list should pop up. So a background color, let's say I want it to be a bit red. So now when I hover over it, it's now turning into red. Okay. And it's still not at the bottom, so um, okay. Sometimes it doesn't work how you expect it to work. And that's sad. Hold on a moment. I'm going to add a padding here just so it looks good. They should do this, but it's not doing this. So let's ignore that for a moment because it's stressful and annoying. Let's go back to this one. Okay, so now we have this. Save a pet, adopt, don't shop. Let's move on to the sections at least. So let me do this so we're not distracted with other information. Okay, so for the sections, I want to style them all the same way. So I'll add, or I can just, I don't need to add a class here because I can style it by ID. So in addition to selecting by class, you can also select by ID. So I want to say vision and mission, rescue, and videos. It's a video. Let's say I want a margin. I want to add margins on them and paddings as well. So as you can see, yep, we added the paddings we have here. Okay. So yeah, you can select by ID as well, in addition to classes and the tags itself. Okay, let's move on to vision or the headers actually. So this one, well, we'll need to put this in a class because in some of these sections there are multiple divs, so I can just select it. Class header. Let me copy that and paste it for the other two as well. Okay. And this one is that one. Okay. So for the headers, yeah, I'm going to have to copy all of this again. No, I don't want to copy it, so let's just create a class. It's too much text. So yeah, this is also one use of classes. So you can select by ID, but if they have similar styles, it's just better to create a class. So section. And the other one, section dot header. So selecting the header div we created inside sections. And what I want to do now is just back to top. I want it to be beside our vision. I don't want it to be at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is header. I'm actually going to select the H2 inside the header and display inline. So what this does, display inline, is that because by default headers are display block, so that means they take up the entire row. So when you say display inline, it's not going to take up the entire row anymore. So I can have text beside the header. Okay, now that we have that, oh, I have a visitor. Hi, Earon. Section header. This is a. This one is an anchor tag. So we want to select that, and we also want to apply the same things we applied here. So let's say color white, font weight, bold, and font decoration, rather text decoration, none. Don't want the underline. We can actually just copy it. So let's do that. But the difference is I don't want a very big padding, so let's just do 8 px, 8 pixels of padding. Okay, sorry about that. This should have a dot, so you see now what happens when you forget the dot. Okay, so now it's here, but I want a different color, so let's say yellow. Or let's use the one that I gave, this one yellow. And then let's do the same thing we did earlier. We will also define its color when it's covered. So background color. And let's get the orange. Key. All right, and now when we click it, it should go back to the top, and it should, when you hover over it, it should change colors. Okay, so moving on, let's style. Where else can we style? This one, we can just skip that. And then for the rescue section, it's kind of Yes, let's put everything inside a div. Starting from the image and then up until the dislikes. Okay, do you have a question? Where's that? Yes, for the hover and other features, it's called a pseudo class. Let me give you I'll show you the website. So here, this website, you can search for CSS stuff, and we have the hover here. It's a pseudo class. So if you click here, you can see all the other pseudo classes. So this ones, there are a lot of them. So the ones I mentioned is active, earlier, focus, and other stuff. So you can reference it here if you want to study on your own. Okay. All right. So for this, yes, you're welcome. So for this one, I put it inside a div. So long. Put inside a div, let's say class content. That's because I want to put some sort of spacing because it looks very weird here. So let's add a spacing. Rescue and content. Add a padding so that it doesn't look weird or it doesn't look too bad. There we go. So we have this one and it's sort of okay for now. Let's go to the videos, and it's also doesn't have any spacing between its header and content, so I'm going to put that in another div as well. So I can put spacing between the header and the actual contents of the section. Okay, so class content, and content is padding. Also add videos. Okay. Okay, so now it has some space, which is all right. And then for video content, so we have two elements inside the content. We have two iframes showing the videos. what I want to do is center it. And I'm going to use a different strategy. So I mentioned earlier that we can center using different strategies or different properties. So now I'm going to use grid to center it. So what grid does, it makes the display sort of like a table. So now it's this one. So it's arranged it in sort of a row. So this one is one row and this is the second row. So if you want to arrange it in a column grid, then template, use this one. What this does, this property tells the browser that I want this grid to be in columns. So this video should be beside each other. And we will specify a length or width rather. For this one, I'll specify a 25%, meaning that each video will take 25%. Okay, and when we go, yes, it's now beside each other, but I guess it's too small. The space is too small, so let's make the videos smaller. So there's a 300, maybe we can make it 150. 150, 150, and 150 as well. So that is smaller. Yep, we have that now. And we can make this maybe a bit bigger, so 40%, I guess. Yep, so now it's 40%. And we can justify, or we can center the content using justify content center. Okay, so now it's centered. It's weird. Looks weird, so we can try and look at it this way. Oh. Then if I add center, yep. Something weird, but it's centered. Yep. Yes, it's now centered. This one. Let's remove the background color. Okay, so yep. We added this one, we added the image for our banner, then we added this back to top one so that we can go back to the top. And I think we have 20 more minutes, so we are pretty much done with the basics here, but I can spend another 10 minutes showing how to make this better, I guess. So let's maybe concentrate on this table. Let's add some colors, or let's make it take up the entire row. So mission and table. Okay, and then let's add a width of 100%, meaning it should take up 100% of the row. And now it's not just bunched up in the corner. Okay, and let's add some colors. Or let's first specify, no, okay. It's much better if you see what happens. So TH, let's add a color of pink, which I put in here. So this one. And we have that. So next one, we change the color to white so that it's better. And then I want to select these rows as well. I want to add a border. So let's do mission table trth to select the headers, and mission table trtd to select the non-header cells. And I want to add a border, X solid black. So 1 pixel width of solid black border. Okay, so what you see now is that there are some spaces in between the borders, and I guess it looks nice naman. But if we want to remove that, we can do the border collapse attribute and say collapse, meaning to remove the spaces and collapse the borders to the other borders. It's not doing it. Let me check again. Yep. Yes, I am not sure why it's not doing that, but as you see here, this is what it should do. Okay. Border collapse. Or yeah, I put it in the wrong rule. So okay. That's a lesson learned. It should be under the table. Okay, yes. Now it's nice. So that was a demonstration of what could go wrong when you're not paying attention to where you're adding properties. And as mentioned by Earon, I'm so sorry, Earon. Ito na po. Naayos na po. Okay. So what else can we do? PM. Okay. Kanina pa ako nagkakamali sa kanina message ko to just one person yung materials. So I'm not very used to Zoom. Could we skim through the codes again? Okay, so let's just do that. Which part particularly do you want to go through? Or is there a particular part? Yeah. Okay, so we have the banner HTML. It's a good practice to indent it so you're not confused, just like how I was confused a moment ago. So this is the banner for this one. So banner info is this one. Save a pet, adopt, don't shop. Then the navigation is for this ones. So we have this ones. Okay, and then for the next part is this one, the section. So our vision, then we go back to top here, and we have the paragraph. Next one, we have the mission section. So it has it has the header, and then the paragraph, and then the table here. So here's the code for the table. Don't forget the call sign. Yep. And then this is the other paragraph. Then for the rescue section, this is the header, and the content is this long URL for the image, and then the div for the for the information for the pet, which is this one, Jackson, 5 years old male. Then for the likes, it's an unordered list. So we have this one. And for the dislikes, unordered list. Unordered list. Okay, and then for the last section, this is the videos. So we have the headers, and we have the content, which contains all the videos, the 2 videos that we have. Okay. All right, so is it all good for the HTML part? Okay, you're welcome. For the CSS part, not sure if you guys want to check again, but let's see this. Let's open everything. Okay, so the HTML, we have this one, and we also remove the margins and paddings from the headers because they're kind of annoying at sometimes. Then the banner, we added an image centered, covering the entire div and does not repeat. The banner info, we aligned it to center, and we changed the text to white. The navigation, we aligned it to the center. So here, yep. Then the navigation, we added white color. We removed the underline. Then when we hover over it, it changes. One cool thing about the change is you can like add some transition to it, like for example, background color. And on transition, let's say the transition is for 1.5 seconds. And ease in. So it just makes the transition to the background color red smoother. As you can see here. Earlier it was, okay, let's reload. So earlier it's just like this. Once you hover it, it's there. But if you add the transition, it's much smoother. So there's also that option if you want to add some transitions. The syntax is, this one is which property you want to transition, then the duration of the transition, and the transition function or type of transition. To know more about this, you can Google it again. Or visit this one, MDN Web Docs. It has a, you can just search it here, transition. And it will give you a lecture about transitions. So for those of you who want to learn more about it. Okay, and then the sections. So I added a section class for all these guys so that I can style them all at the same time. Then the headers, I displayed as inline, this header, so that this button can be decided. And then we styled this button. Then we added the hover as well. And then for this one's the content, the video, we made it as a grid display. So the grid, it has columns. It's displayed as columns. So this one video is in one column, the other video is in another column, each occupying 30%, and they're centered. And then for the table, there's one, it takes the entire row. And we added some colors to the headers. We changed the color of the text to white. And we added a border. Okay. All right, so it's 4:40 now. Are there other questions or concerns? Do we learn? No, we don't learn it today because it's we don't have enough time for it, and it's a bit more complicated. Yes. I guess if there are other WiTCon sessions, maybe if there are other participants who want to continue this web development, as I showed earlier, let me show you this one. So I showed you earlier this one, web development. This is the only part we're talking about is this one, HTML and CSS. There are a lot of other functions or parts of the front end that's not covered here, and that might be, or rather that's required for a website. So it's not, all the websites are not just HTML and CSS. There are a lot of other stuff that we need to cover as well. So in order to publish it on the web, we have a copy. No, that's not for me to say. It's for the hosts. So maybe the host can answer that later on.
Yeah, maybe Sai can answer.
Yeah. So
yes, we will be providing the video and a YouTube link. So we'll be announcing it in a few days or weeks.
All right. Sphinx for that side. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Side. Okay. Are there other questions regarding the code? I think someone earlier asked if they could have a copy of the code. Is that correct? So I could send the code to Sai, or I'm not sure if they would be. I guess I could send the code to the hosts or to the organizers if they want, or if that's allowed, so that the participants, maybe they can go through it and do it
Yes,
on
maybe I
their
can
own.
send my email here instead.
Okay, so I can send it to Sai, and Sai can distribute it to the others, so that it will ignite the spark for web development for you, for the participants here.